Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a very special guest with me. This is the second time doing the podcast. We originally did it last summer on a moving tour bus. I think their drive was like 20-hour drive in a bus. Please welcome one of my dearest friends to the podcast, Mr. Dan Smith.
Thank you for having me again. It's an absolute pleasure.
How long was that drive we did?
That was, I can't even remember where we were driving from, but I know we were trying to get to Italy, somewhere in Italy. That was my first show with H2O.
Damn.
So I did 2 sets, but I know we were in the bus for, I think, about 22 hours or something.
Yeah.
Almost a day.
Fuck.
Because there was crazy traffic and it was just a long way.
Yeah. Traffic gems. It's going to be lots of traffic jams on the way there.
Man.
So that would have been your first show playing with us on that tour?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so was that the summer tour, Battery, or was that the Princess's tour?
That was Battery, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what happened? So what you played with us on the whole tour? No, that doesn't make... How'd that happen?
What happened? I played like 8 shows, I think.
Okay.
Right? And I had to do
double
duty.
Adam had to leave or something?
No, I played guitar. Remember?
Guitar.
Yeah.
So, Ernst had to leave. He's having a baby.
That's right.
Congratulations, Ernst. You're a dad now. We did that podcast like a year ago. And then Joe finally listened to it and he said the sound was really fucking bad. But we're going to try to have the exact same combo here today. Yeah, that was an amazing tour. That was a wonderful tour, man. Sharp Shock, Battery, H2O.
I gotta say thank you for that again, man. It was
welcome, bro.
It was amazing, to be able to be over there for that amount of time, see as many countries as we saw, and just play to those crowds, and it was awesome.
Was it we had a double-decker bus?
Yeah.
Is that 2018 now or 2019?
19.
Really, last summer?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
And then we did the Persistence tour, which is past January. When Adam couldn't make it, you played bass for H2O.
Mm-hmm. Back on the bass.
You're back on the bass, and that was the only tour we did this year.
Yeah.
Only shows you play in 2020.
And hey, if that's the last tour that I ever do, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I want to say that was like a quote floating around of that tour.
Yeah.
It was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, this is the last tour we played. I don't care. This is the greatest tour. It was H2O,
yeah,
Gorilla Biscuits, Wisdom in Chains, Agnostic Front, Cutthroat,
Street Dogs,
and
Count Time.
It was such a fun, diverse group of people, and the shows were great, and camaraderie. Is that the word, camaraderie? Yeah.
Yeah.
The brotherhood, everybody hanging out every night, watching each other. We were doing people doing guest vocals on different sets. We had a rotating door for Guilty by Association with Schreifels, Gallo, and Luke from Wisdom.
Yeah.
There was 2 Lukes on that tour.
Yeah.
2 Luke drummers. So that was such a fun tour, man. The shows were great.
It was amazing, man. Like, honestly, like I couldn't help but think back to when I was a little kid and kind of living in the bottom of the world, just kind of really not imagining that I'd leave. And, fast forward 59 years and I'm on tour with all these bands that it like actually changed my life, So
it's awesome, man.
It was, kind of a pretty special thing to be a part of and kind of, I don't know, especially before all this bullshit that we've been dealing with in the last few months.
Yeah,
it really was very, very special, and I'll never forget it. I got a nickname from Stigma. It's like,
what was your nickname?
Danny Boy.
Sick.
But still, I mean,
that's a great one.
For all those dudes to be as warm and welcoming,
yeah,
as they were. I mean, a lot of them I'd met or known before, but
and you had some big shoes to fill with Adam Blake. You did great. He was very proud of you.
Well, he doesn't wear shoes, so I didn't have any shoes to fill. But
he did what he did with no shoes on stage once.
Yeah.
He's a flip flop guy now.
He did it. Yeah, he's done it a lot.
Yeah, what's interesting on that, because I remember being you for some reason. It was pre-COVID. We kind of heard about it maybe, but we both wore masks on that plane. I remember flying there just because. I think our thing was like maybe people would think we're sick and they won't sit in the middle seat or sit next to us.
Well, man, I've kind of, as you know, I've kind of had 2 lives for the longest time with tattooing and music. More so with music in the last few years with Sharp Shock, but I just kind of I usually try to do as much as I can, and in my older age, I'm kind of like realizing I'm not always going to deal, I'm not always going to handle the schedule that I kind of want. So I just didn't want to get sick for the tour. I didn't want to get anything on the plane. But some other times before that, I've put like Vaseline in my nose.
Really?
Someone told me that like if you're sleeping and stuff, and it helps prevent
really
anything going up there, I guess.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
I can see people who have to, like, the nose was chapped from cocaine or something, or just try like put some chapstick on there, or I don't know. So how you doing in this lockdown? Because you're like, well, we both not playing shows. That's not going to happen until hopefully next year. But with the tattooing, where it must be hard to balance all right now with the COVID and lockdown and shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of in the second wave of it, right? Like the first time, honestly, I loved the break. Like, just speaking very, candidly and personally, like I needed the break, and I'd kind of realized after last year, Sharp Shock did a lot of touring and a lot more than I ever thought we would do. This is kind of like third or fourth band for me. Mm-hmm. Third band since moving to the States. So tried to approach it a lot differently, and try to learn from some mistakes that I'd made in the past, and just try to have a completely different like outlook on playing music and being in a band.
Yeah.
And the exciting thing and the surprising thing was that like it kind of took off more than I think any other band I've been in has. You know what I mean? And from good friends and people who wanted to really have our back, like you and so many other bands, like we just got to do really cool stuff from the beginning.
Yeah.
But you add a full-time tattoo schedule to that as well, and it's pretty difficult. So honestly, I love the break, but it just sucks that the world is kind of, the world's kind of crumbling right now. Mm-hmm. So it's mentally it's a lot to get through and think about, and it's weird.
But people still want to get tattooed during the pandemic. They don't really give a fuck. They want to get tats.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like tattooing and a bunch of other, I guess, personal services. Like, there's probably some statistics that say, like, people would rather do that than pay their rent. Like, it's this instantaneous gratification, of feeling good. And it kind of sucks that humans need to feel good now more than ever, right? But
totally,
with that comes some crazy decisions. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I took the time to really spend some energy on the things that never really got my energy before, which I was really quite pleased to do and grateful, and stuff I should have put a lot more time into over the years, I think.
But now you're focusing on that during the lockdown, then yeah. You're kind of forced to be creative and do things, especially when you are playing music or your job is on pause. You find other things that you like and stay busy with, and being creative, and also trying to hustle some things as well, because your income is kind of frozen, depending on the person. Not saying you, but saying in general, like, I think the COVID's brought a lot of positive things out of people, making people more creative and to focus on other things, whether it be relationships or a side hustle or health, or just whatever, you know what I mean? I think there's good things coming from this for sure,
Yeah, good and bad, I think it's really put a lot of people to the test, but for me, like, to sort of remove that urgency, like I fed off that urgency for a long time. Yeah. So to not have that urgency was pretty refreshing, and I think it did a lot for my for my mental health, and
it forces you to kind of slow down and relax, and right? Yeah. It's wild, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Think about what the next move is going to be, So obviously you weren't born here. So let's just take it back to your history of Dan Smith growing up. You were born in New Zealand, correct?
Incorrect. I was born in England, in the northeast of England, in a town called Middlesbrough. I guess kind of considered like a Flint, Michigan sort of... Flint, Michigan of England, like it was an industrial town that kind of went down the tubes a little bit. And 87, my parents decided to move to New Zealand. Okay. My auntie and her family moved out there, I think the year before we did. And back then there was a couple waves of people sort of leaving and starting new lives in different places. And New Zealand and Australia were kind of the places, the hot spots to go. And so my parents went out and visited, and then... I think the next year moved us out.
So how old were you?
So
when you were 7.
I was 7.
7's right.
Mm.
So I'm 10 years older than you. That's right.
Yeah, almost to the day.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you were 7, and then you moved there, and was that like kind of a culture shock for you?
I mean, I was still pretty young, so not so much, but I mean, you know, definitely a very, very unique upbringing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to move to a country that is sort of almost untouched, you know, back then, like late 80s, I mean, it was just paradise kind of thing, you know what I mean? But it's not until you get older that you realize nowhere is really paradise, because you're growing up there and you have a lot of stuff to process. Yeah. So I kind of found that, like, you know, even though there was a lot that was inspiring me, I had a great, amazing group of friends and stuff. Yeah. We were all kind of discovering the same things at the same time, you know, like music and stuff. I still had this kind of like longing to just leave for some reason, you know. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but it was something that I knew from a young age that I just had to do. I never thought I'd really
be there forever.
Stay there, you know. And I still had a real strong tie to England and everything that goes along with it, like all, you know, obviously the musical sort of education and upbringing that I had was mainly through my dad. He was a mod in England, so his record collection was amazing. So I would spend countless days just flicking through his record collection and getting inspired from all that stuff, and that kind of quenched the art thirst that I had as well. Like, I really studied a lot of the, you know, record covers and band t-shirts, and, you know, when I saw bands with tattoos, it kind of bridged the two. And I guess I was lucky to sort of be really interested in that from a young age, and then it was just kind of up to me to kind of join the dots and try to make it happen, which was kind of daunting back then because it was just such a small country. Yeah. I never ever thought that it was possible, to be honest.
Were you drawing a lot as a young kid?
Yeah, always. I was drawing band logos on my friends' bags and obviously painting our punk jackets, stuff like that, doing all screen printing. I mean, literally everything involved in punk hardcore, you know, bringing bands out, putting on shows, studding leather jackets and studding belts and stuff in my garage. And
how old were you when you started doing that?
Well, like I said, my musical upbringing started pretty young because my dad, you know. So by the age of, like, you know, 13, 14, I was well aware of all the cool old English punk bands that, you know, are the staples that you have to listen to. And then it was kind of on me to sort of explore and dig a little deeper. And we had an amazing record store in New Zealand, in Auckland, called Crawl Space Records. Okay. And, you know, I kind of stumbled upon a very small hardcore scene and punk scene in New Zealand, and it was super diverse and everybody was amazing. And we just, I don't know, it's like the main thing that kind of made me feel good. Yeah. And like it was okay, and life was, you know, like I was on the right track at all. You know, I didn't like school, loved playing soccer, you know, but that, I don't know, I had a major operation when I was 14, which kind of put me out of playing soccer, but that's kind of what I wanted to do if it wasn't music, be a professional footballer, you know.
What you do in soccer? Like, what was your
I played all over, but I just loved it. It was something me and my dad were into, and you know, it seemed to me back then that everything was really connected, you know. Like, I remember watching the 1990 World Cup, and New Order did the theme song for the England team, and I remember listening to it and loving it, and just, I don't know, I feel lucky when I think back of all the things that I sort of stumbled upon just seemed right, you know. I didn't,
right timing too.
Yeah, I wasn't desperate to search, you know. I wasn't struggling to find what I liked. Yeah, it was just like, cool, you know it, just go for it, you know. And I just kind of made the decision to push as hard as I could. Yeah, you know. So
what were you like in school? You got good grades, and I know you played soccer, but what were your goals? What were your goals in school? Was it to be an artist?
It was to leave.
Yeah, just to get out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I did music and I did art in school. I didn't finish high school. I did work experience at a skate shop. Okay. I kind of knew that wasn't really realistic to take it any further, you know, but I loved doing that. And then I did work experience at a screen printers, and you know, back then there were very few distros sending stuff to New Zealand. There was, you know, it was expensive to print shirts, bands that I was in, you know. So I had a van. I would drive all the gear around. I would drive bands around that ended up coming to New Zealand.
Sick.
I would screen print all the shirts.
Those were your jobs out of school.
Yeah, we would do road trips every weekend and visit different cities to go to shows.
Yeah.
We were playing 99% of the time, but
yeah.
know.
So what was your first? Okay, let's go back a little bit. So were your parents supportive of that? Like all that stuff you were doing? Did they have?
Yeah, I mean,
they have dreams for you. They wanted you to be or anything, or no?
I don't think they want what I'm doing and what I did. I don't think they wanted me to do, but since me doing them, I know that they're happy that I'm doing it because I'm happy, and you know, I've been able to do some cool things with them, you know. But I think back then, you know, I think my parents left England because it was in a weird situation, you know, and unemployment was a real high, and I think, you know, it's probably the same with, you know, your mom or whatever. It's like the older generation always have a different opinion of, especially tattoos, because back then it was hooligans and criminals that had tattoos, really. So moving to New Zealand, obviously the cultural aspect of tattoos is so you know it's huge. It's a huge part of the country and the history. So
the Maoris they call?
Yeah. So to be exposed to that was an awesome, you know, an awesome thing. And I don't know if that sort of was another thing that kind of connected me to tattoos and made it seem a little more close to home, or you know, like realistic to me to be able to do myself. Yeah. But I mean, as far as the music goes, they were supportive with that. Bought my first guitar when I was 10. Damn. And drove me to practice and all that kind of stuff.
Were you self-taught, or you just had lessons, or you started learning?
I had a few guitar lessons when I was about 10, I think, 10, 11. And then, you know, you find punk and you just realize, like, to me, that just opened the gate of everything. It sort of like smashed all the insecurity of like, oh, am I good enough to play this electric guitar that I'm holding? Like, it was just like, of course you are. Like, you don't need anything to love punk. You just need to, you know, if you love it, you know what I mean? So for me, I was just cool. This is just another piece of the puzzle. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm gonna keep doing it.
So then, how old were you when you started your first band?
13, I think. 13, 14, yeah. We had a show at the local rugby league club in Glen Eden, West Auckland, which is where I grew up. That band ended up coming third in a battle of the bands called the Rock Quest.
What was your band called?
We were called Pomegranate.
Pomegranate?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. Well, like a slang term for English is pommy, right?
Okay.
And then it's like granite is rock.
Okay.
So it's like English rock, which is probably even looking way further into it than I did back then. But
yeah. And so you play bass?
Yeah. No, I played guitar in that band.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved to bass a little later, but I'm a bass player through and through. I like playing guitar, but yeah.
And so, how was that band received? Besides getting number third, and then.
I mean, you have to know how small it was there. It's like I'm constantly reminded of how small everything was back then, especially when I go home and visit.
Yeah.
You know, but back then, like stuff just wasn't happening. You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool.
So, you guys played a bunch of shows?
We played, I think, just a handful, and then that kind of turned into DSM, which was the first band I was in, first real band, and that ended up, you know, we did a record and a couple 7-inches. We ended up touring Australia.
Yeah. What did DSM stand for?
So Richie Hardcore,
Shout out to Richie Hardcore.
I know you were just on his podcast, which I listened to. Shout out to Richie. He named the band because we were in high school and we were kind of stumbling through everything, just trying to do it. We had all the inspiration, but we were just trying to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, me and two friends are going to start a band. And he just cracked up and was just like, are you serious? Like, what are you going to be called? Dexter, Schneider, and Mo? And we were like, yeah. Yep, sure. Let's do it.
And what does that mean, Dexter, Schneider, and Mo?
I think he was just kind of saying like how funny it was, the idea of trying to be in a band. So yeah, the odds were stacked up against us, but we did it.
Pretty fucking awesome. So DSM, and that was like, you actually started traveling. You said you went to Australia as your first time leaving.
Yeah, I mean, that band started when we were just teenagers, like, 15, 16 or whatever. But we, it was a beautiful time in New Zealand. My group of friends managed to meet a whole bunch of contacts, and a whole bunch of bands ended up coming down there. It was like the very start of bands traveling there.
Gotcha.
So, it was in 96, I think, Scratch the Surface, when Sick of It All went down there the first time. We were all 16. We were too young to get in, you know. But the next time, I think it was 98, my band opened for them.
Sick.
Dave, our singer, he brought them out. Sick of It All stayed at his mum's house.
Wow.
Where he lived. They were all downstairs in the basement. We were upstairs, like losing it, going, holy shit, Sick of It All are downstairs right now.
Cool, man.
And that happened with a bunch of bands like VOD and One King Down and Shut Down. And
it's awesome.
So, again, just another thing that totally opened our eyes, that made it seem like anything was possible. Mm-hmm. Just gave us the motivation and the encouragement to just try to kill it.
Yeah.
So that band ended up touring to Australia, which was like kind of the stepping stone. Like, I lived there for 3 years before I moved to California, and it's just these little kind of like little things and little stepping stones that make it seem like anything's possible. So
I remember you saying like how like you couldn't get Dickies or like basketball, all that shit there. So you would order that shit from overseas. It's super expensive. Where your friends would come out and buy a bunch of gear and bring it back.
Oh yeah, I mean, like we were the younger kids that hung out with, dudes like Reese and Ben, and Lawrence and those guys. So anyone that traveled, they would take empty suitcases. They would just go in the clothes that they're wearing, and we would hear these, magical, like, myths and legends of these champion outlets in upstate New York or whatever, and we'd be like, man, like, we worked so hard.
Ready.
Like
all that.
EVR. We would save up for so long to give our friends, whatever we had, so they would go to the champion store and bring us back a defect basketball jersey or something, or whatever. So
Dickies were cheap in America for sure back then.
Oh, dude, people brought them out to New Zealand, in mid to late 90s, and they were like 130 New Zealand dollars. So yeah, if you were wearing Dickies, if you were wearing Dickies back then, you were, it was.
Money or you connected to somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
US Connect. That's amazing. So then DSM playing shows. So how old are you there? Are you working a job at that point? Or you just playing music?
Always working. I worked since I was like 14.
What kind of jobs?
So, man, I did everything. The longest job I had back then was at a garden center, and I would kind of carry like bags of compost off the truck and stuff, and kind of use the pallet jack and move it all around. And I loved it, man. Like, I loved it. That ended up. You tired, bro?
I'm chilling.
Am I keeping you up?
No, you're great.
You've been doing too many podcasts this week.
I know. I've been woke up early. Keep going.
Okay, cool. Anything I could, man, I'd do it. I painted wood. At a lumberjack, like at a timber yard, timber yard, and what else? So around the time where the band was kind of quote unquote serious, as serious as you could be in New Zealand, I was like delivering towels and rags and like overalls for mechanics.
Oh, wow. I was like, who's that going to? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I would do like over 100 like stops a day.
Damn.
I'd get up at like 5 a.m. and I'd drive for like an hour.
That's a lot of mechanics. Wow.
Yeah. Grab the van and it would just be me in the van doing my deliveries, and I would just have mixtapes and, CDs and stuff.
Overalls, rags, and towels to mechanics. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I never heard of that job before. But I know it's got to exist because you need that shit.
Yeah, they have it here. But
wow.
What I loved about that is when I started, trying to attempt a tattoo, I kind of had this inbuilt, clientele of dodgy mechanics that would just like want to get tattooed. So it was pretty cool.
Practice on them and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd work all day. I would get tattooed at least a couple times a week. I had every Friday at like 3, I think I had an appointment at the shop.
Holy shit.
Every week from the age of 18.
Wow.
And then I would go to these mechanics' houses or wherever, man, and try and practice tattoos.
So as soon as you started getting tattooed, you're trying to learn how to tattoo as that's happening.
Yeah, I got tattooed pretty young, and I always
Under 18?
Huh?
Under 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything happens when you're under 18 in New Zealand. Like,
okay.
No one cares. And I was just 100% enamored with it. To me, like I said, like I would study record covers, and I would just try to figure out what it all meant and why these people had tattoos and what what they meant and stuff. And it was just a link to everything. So yeah, I knew that getting tattooed would be the best education that I could have. Like if I was very like if I just tried to be a sponge and absorb everything.
Yeah.
But New Zealand was small, and the tattoo scene was pretty weird and a lot different than how it is everywhere.
Yeah.
But especially down there. So I didn't think that I would be able to get a job that easy.
Okay.
We were kind of back then, I guess, the new breed of kids getting colorful, weird-looking traditional tattoos, that was heavily inspired by everything that was happening in America.
Yeah.
A lot of the places that you used to get tattooed and talk about and promote and stuff, those are the places that I was 100% aware of, and especially, when bands like Earth Crisis and Path of Resistance, the upstate New York, the Halo tattoo thing.
Yeah.
It was that kind, which was just like, man, it's another connection between everything I love.
Tattoos, hardcore, straight edge, everything. Yeah.
And so it just solidified it. I feel super lucky to have met Dean from Sacred, Dan from Sacred, Adam Kraft, people who were different than the regular tattoo scene, because that wasn't nice at all, so
were they like hardcore kids who worked there? They grew up in the same shit?
Totally. Like Dean was part of the older group of kids that I hung out with, so he did my first tattoo at 1157 where Reese and Ben and Lawrence lived, you know what I mean? So I got my first tattoo in the kitchen.
Wow.
And it just felt right, and as a kid, like I've never felt right in the world from a very young age. So to experience that from a young age and know that I was at least doing something right was all I needed.
Yeah. What was your first tattoo?
Descendants, I Don't Want to Grow Up.
Sick.
Milo.
Perfect.
It was perfect. They're my favorite band. It really was perfect. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a horror story. I don't have a horror story about getting a whole bunch of straight edge tattoos from the dude who's drunk. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no regrets on that side. Mm-hmm.
So you
just lucked out. I was in the right place, the right time, the right people.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started apprenticing?
So as the band kind of traveled a little bit and I was working, getting tattooed, I kind of was thinking about the next step. And there was a band from Australia that came over a couple times that basically said, if you move to Australia, you can play with us. Which to me, again, was another huge opportunity. And back then I had the blinders on and I was just going for it. So I was like, I'm not going to turn anything down. I'm not, that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
So I moved, and
DSM was kind of over.
Yeah, it was kind of over. I mean, it was never, it's thinking back now, I mean, we were just in a small country. There was only so much that we were going to do.
Yeah, accomplish there.
So yeah, I left just going like, man, if I can tour more and I can play more and I can play with more bands that traveled down there, because sometimes a lot of the bands would go to Australia but not New Zealand.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, imagine that. That would be perfect. You know, you know, like I moved to Adelaide, South Australia, you know, and there was a huge hardcore scene there. I'm like, imagine if I could tattoo all these kids. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to. And I just, I did. So yeah, joined the band. It was called Day of Contempt. We, you know, I was there for 3 years, and we traveled the world a couple times over.
Was the band already big? Had a buzz when you got there?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it was.
You heard of them before?
Yeah. They came down to New Zealand and played with my band.
Okay.
And then they had a bunch of stuff going on, you know. It was at a time where like there wasn't really any bands traveling interstate in Australia, you know.
Yeah.
New Zealand, you could play maybe a handful of shows.
Yeah.
Over there, you could do at least double.
Awesome.
And
that's a great scene. I've played it many times.
Yeah. Well, I think the first time you guys went, I moved there maybe 2 or 3 months after the first time you guys went.
Damn. So what year would that be?
That was 2000, I think, or 2001.
Damn, waited that long to get there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we started in 96. That's not a couple years. That's not bad, yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Never played New Zealand, though. You're right. A lot of bands came to Australia, but not New Zealand. We've been there for a layover, but I never got to go. That's a goal to go there someday, you know, play a show.
Everything's changed, but
I'm sure
everything does, right?
Yeah.
I think as you grow older, you realize that, you know, and that's especially the last 6 months here has been a pretty big eye-opener for me to really kind of think about a lot that happened in my life and a lot of the moves I made, and just, you know, just try to understand maybe more like where everyone was coming from, or everyone involved, like how they were all feeling and stuff. I think when you hustle hard and you move here with, you know, with a suitcase, you're more concentrating on just surviving and just you know, just mentally just trying to get through it. And if I said any of that was easy, I'd be totally lying. You know what I mean? Like it was really kind of crazy.
Reflect on your journey on this lockdown.
It's a good and a bad thing, but I'm trying to use it all positively and just be super grateful for where I'm at now.
Yeah.
You know?
So Day of Contempt took you out of Australia and out of New Zealand?
Mm-hmm.
You guys went to Europe. You guys went to the US too?
Yeah, we did a few tours over here, and then Japan, Europe, everywhere.
Wow. First time, did you go to New York? You guys went there?
Yeah, we do it. The first tour here we did. Man, my memory is not good.
Because I left New York in 2001, so I probably missed you guys out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you moved here 2001.
Yeah, you were in New York after that on tour.
Yeah, definitely. But honestly, a lot of it's a blur, man. I had some gnarly stuff happen, and I don't know if it's just happened on its own or mentally, subconsciously. It's a blur.
Yeah. Sometimes people block shit out like that for sure.
I had to, man. I had to
block it out.
It was crazy. Yeah.
So Day of Contempt, that you in that band for a couple years.
Yeah, we moved here 2004, and you know, the most naive yet honest you know, intention
move. Yeah.
You know, we were hyped, but we got here and realized that it was a different world from what we were used to, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of it wasn't easy to navigate. You know, we definitely have a lot of people to thank for those times that kind of helped us through, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's weird to go from a big fish in a small pond to the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to just maintain the positivity, and it's hard to see not only yourself dealing with stuff yourself, but to kind of see everybody around you kind of really struggling with some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of had a plan once we moved out here, and we just put all our eggs in the basket kind of thing, you know, and keep going.
Shut the door, yeah. You put all your eggs in the basket.
we put all our eggs in the basket, and it was, like I said, it was a little naive, but very honest. And you know, it's like, yeah, just I don't know, man.
I mean, that's a big move to make, like leaving your fucking country to go to America, which you've barely been to. Have you been to America how many times before you moved here?
3 times.
Okay, and you loved it. You fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And it was mostly New York you fell in love with, or no? New York and Cali?
It was New York, man. Like me and all my friends were huge New York hardcore fans growing up. It's kind of interesting that we moved to California because there was no real reason to, other than, I mean, we grew up around a beach, and obviously California is very beachy, but as far as like musical influences and just sensibility, I think it was all East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just feel like it was a little more realistic to move to the West Coast. You know what I mean?
So where were you in your tattooing skills at that time when you moved out? Were you fully tattooing?
Yeah. So basically, when I moved to Australia, I totally jumped in the deep end with tattooing.
Yeah.
Shep from the Body Art Shop was kind of like the same dude that Dean was in New Zealand. You know,
Gotcha.
Total punk dude, music fan. Totally took me under his wing, looked out for me.
Yeah.
And I was able to just spend, you know, a couple years of just really hard work tattooing, you know. So I didn't do an official apprenticeship, but I did everything that an apprentice would do because I wanted to do it, and I was just so in it, you know. And
making a name for yourself as a tattoo artist.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It was a beautiful time back then, man, and the band was popping off, and it was like, you know, it was different because we were the band from Australia or down that part of the world that were traveling, and over here it was kind of a novelty, you know. Mm-hmm. It was kind of cool.
So now you're tattooing, you have a name for yourself, and the band's doing really well, and then you just make the move to come out here with just you and your band, pretty much.
Yeah, we sold and left everything. We came here with a suitcase.
And you had friends out here, obviously a couple of friends to meet, so you can have some people.
Yeah, I mean,
you
know, I'm super thankful to the dudes that were able to help us to get out here. Yeah. You know, there was a lot of lessons being learned back then, and one was to basically not think that the world revolves around you. You know what I mean? Don't assume anything, because you'll get surprised, and a lot of the time
you guys had big dreams and what you visualized it was going to be.
We thought we were going to live the dream, man. We were on cloud 9, like, here we are, we're here, and it was like what? Wait, what? Oh, we're homeless. Oh, gotcha. Oh, everything that fell through, everything we got kind of promised, or maybe just was apparently going to happen, fell through. Yeah. Okay, we couldn't just go back to our parents or sleep on a friend's couch for, indefinitely. Yeah. So we had a lot of problems to solve.
It's a
real quick,
real reality wake
There was also visas involved. It was just like, when you pack up your whole life and say, like, I'm going to do this, like there's a pride element to it as well, where you're like, man, I need to do this as much as I can, I don't want to fail.
Yeah. So how was it playing shows over here? Like trying to get your name out there? Was it hard?
It was amazing. No, it was amazing. We got welcomed with open arms. Yeah. And, it really, like, all the bands from Orange County, which is where I live now, and we ended up spending a lot of time there, probably with the reason that we survived it all. Yeah. Throwdown, 18 Visions, Bleeding Through, Avenged Sevenfold was super good to us, and it was just a magical time for all those bands, because it was like, you lived it too,
Yeah,
it was like not the mainstream world, but it was like a kind of a bigger world had their eye on everything. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot more opportunities being offered to bands like that.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah.
So it was a warm welcome. Like you definitely felt. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And so how long did that last, you guys over here?
It lasted a couple years before it completely just self-destructed.
And and it's not, isn't the drummer, it's not, I was going to say you're the last surviving member that still never left and stayed in California, but I think the drummer lives here too, right, in Cali.
Yeah.
Everybody went back except for you two.
He does, and the guitarist who was playing, he lives here too.
Oh, they never went back?
No.
Wow.
No.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Which says a lot, man. You know, like, all respect to them, you know, like, again, like I was saying, you know, I've had a lot of time to sort of reflect on it. And I'm like, man, like if I was dealing with that, I can't imagine what the others were dealing with. You know what I mean? And it's like as tight as a band can be. I mean, you know how it goes. There's like
and I know how you are too. Like you love the music, but the business part sucks. And that's the way I feel and everybody feels. But sometimes you have to take control of that because it is your baby and your passion. You have to take over that business shit. I know you took a lot of that weight on your shoulders too. You know what I mean? Spearheading the whole thing.
Yeah, because it's I don't know if it was a fear of failure, but it was more just fear like failure. Yes. It was just more like, man, I made this decision, like I got to do it, and if that means sticking up for yourself and try and you know just trying to push as hard as you can, then like I've got to do it.
Yeah,
I'm obligated,
grinded, man.
I'm obligated, you know.
Like you said, homeless, sleeping in your van, staying at people's houses, staying at warehouses. Remember all that shit, talking you through all back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really grinded, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So when that band fizzled out, where were you tattooing at the time? Because you started tattooing.
So on one of the tours I did, I ended up meeting Jim Miner from Death by Stereo.
Yes, awesome.
Who, you know, again, open arms, loved what I was doing. I obviously loved what he was doing. And he kind of said to me, hey man, if you ever think that you want to move here, I'll make sure that you have a chair in any shop that I'm in.
Yeah.
So to me, it was just like my,
sick.
Again, another bridge, you know, that I'd made. And I was just like, dude,
did you meet them when you came to Death by Stereo come to Australia, New Zealand back then?
Nah, not back then.
You just met them when you got here. Okay, gotcha.
Not back then, yeah.
Shout out to the Miners, man. Talented.
Exactly. And we've recorded with Paul like years on and stuff. And it's just like, it's rad when that happens. I love it.
Yeah, that's full circle.
So as you know, when it came time to make the decision to move with the bands, I was equally thinking, the tattoo side of my brain was thinking like, well, if it all turns to shit, you've always got your tattooing.
Yeah.
And then if it does turn to shit, you've got your tattooing to sort of help everybody out or whatever, which ultimately, you know, was an unhealthy decision and that kind of happened a lot. But
you were so torn about going full-time tattoo, a full-time band. I know you seem like
it. You know, I always have the best intentions, man, and I'm a loyal person, and I'm all for one for all kind of dude. So
yeah,
I just, you know, again, trial and error, man. You have the best intentions, but sometimes you don't have the skills, I think, to know what to do in certain situations.
Yeah,
you know, in my older age, I feel like I've definitely listened a lot more, and I've listened to a lot of people, listened to your podcast, listened to, you know, Aram's podcast that I was just on, which I thought was amazing. A bunch of people, and it's cool to see people who are like my age and older reflect on their life, and I can kind of, you know, I can see that. I can see similarities and stuff, and I don't know, man. It's just good to think about these things and try to get to a better place, because I feel like as people having lived in such a weird and fucked up world, we hold on to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't want to hold on to a lot of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
So when the band was over, you kind of relieved, probably bittersweet.
That band, no, I wasn't relieved. I wanted to fucking tear the world apart. Like it was, to me, it was all for nothing. You know what I mean? And in some way I felt responsible, and I was betrayed, and it was just like chaos.
Okay.
And that was probably one of the lowest points of my whole life. Damn,
man.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 2005. I think the end of 2005. End of 2005. So
all the hard work, all the hustling,
everything
you did is just like
everything.
And we fucking left where we're from, and damn.
Yeah.
That hurt you. That was a painful one. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. To make it worse, you know, it's only something that people really who come from a different place can understand, I think, you know, because there is that safety net over here for a lot of people. Like, I'm still familiar with my surroundings. I'm still, you know, at the very least, I can borrow some money off my parents, or I can, you know, go and live with mom and dad again as much as I don't want to. But all of that stuff, we were just like a fish out of water. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was just like, it hit pretty hard. My best friend passed away in 2005. just like a couple months after he came and visited me, you know, which I have a huge tattoo on my side from Kat.
Yeah.
And that was like rock bottom. That time changed me 100% as a person.
Wow. So it got dark for a little bit too. And were you working at Miners at that time still?
No, I was working sort of just between tours. You know, I decided to move. Everything fell apart. The desperation kind of set in and was like, you know, between our visas expiring every year, which I had the job to try to tell the visa place that we were a legit big band, which really we were no ones. You know what I mean? That was difficult. So every 6 to 8 months, it was the gamble of like, are we even going to be here next year?
Yeah,
and we left everything, but we have to. So that's the way that I was thinking. I was just like, we have to. It was like getting people to write fake reviews of shows or you know, any kind of flyer or like any single thing that proved that we were a band. I would just keep it, and then that would go in the file to try to extend our visa for another like 8 months, you know, 10 months kind of thing.
Constant stress. Like, no, that's crazy, man. The future of the band, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So when it all fell apart, it was just like, now what? Like, I'm gonna move back to West Auckland. Like, it was a place I was desperate to get away from, you know?
Yeah, you know where to go back.
So
probably because of that fear of not going back made you hustle even harder to stay here.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like
100%, yeah.
So the band's over. A couple of the guys go back, and then the other two guys stay, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're tattooing. So then what's your move then? Like, are you like...
Well, the thing was, we'd made some really amazing relationships. We were still getting opportunities to tour.
Yep.
And we had... we were supposed to do a European tour with Avenged Sevenfold, and they were just warming up, but they were big back then, you know, mid 2000s.
Fuck.
And it was just another world. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm not going to let this slip by. So I ended up singing. We changed the name.
Yep.
And I ended up singing. We wrote a whole bunch of songs, you know, kind of went more of a different style. But
had you sung before that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd sung on records, and but not really in front of a crowd, you know. Yeah. But you know, in the studio and stuff, and I just stepped up, and I'm like, you know, this is time where I need to kind of handle it and do my thing. So
you kept the name and just changed the sound a little bit?
No, we changed the name to the Dear and Departed.
Okay.
And that went through some changes too, you know, but we did some really cool stuff with that. A lot of touring. Recorded with Chad, which was amazing. That's know, Equal Vision jumped at us and and helped us out, which was amazing. You know, Bill Scoville from One King Down, who I met when I was like 18 in New Zealand. Yeah, Equal Vision. Same thing, you know, like full circle. It just comes back, and I'm like, man, this is amazing that people I met when I was a kid are in my life again. Yeah, and it's all kind of working out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that band lasted for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. And we did a lot, and it was cool. It was cool. But, you know, I was during the sort of lulls of like visa stuff or whatever was happening, I would just dive straight into tattooing, and I'd met some amazing people. I met Kat at the shop that Jim Miner was at. Okay. You know, Daniel Albrigo, Colin Dowling, a bunch of people that were just real helpful, and at the time that I really kind of needed it too. Yep. And you know, I would just switch off my music side and then switch back into tattooing.
Yeah, I mean, used to always do that.
But they complemented each other so much, you know. And I'd end up tattooing all the people that would come see our band, or you know, dudes from Orange County or LA that were, you know, playing music. And yeah, man, I just kind of decided that's where I needed to be for a minute. And Kat was like, hey, you know, I'm coming back to LA. She went off to Miami to do the TV show. She's like, I'm coming back to LA. I really would want you to work in the shop. And it was kind of just at the edge, you know, the end of the band where I'm just like, my priority is still here. I still wanted to play music. I always have. That's my priority. Yeah. And so I kind of probably dragged my feet a lot with it. Sorry, Kat. And then it just dawned on me one day after meeting with her, and I'm just like, you idiot, like just do it, you know, like it's insane. It's a total new experience.
Yeah.
And she was a worldwide name, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've got to do it, you know, I've got to do it. So I ended up working at the shop.
It's awesome. And that's before the show. That's just the shop at
the
first, right?
The show had been filming.
Okay.
Like I think they'd filmed 2 seasons.
Damn,
so
okay.
I got there halfway through the 2nd season, and then it was time to film the 3rd season, and she was like, I want you to be on the show. And I'm just like, what the
Damn.
fuck?
Like talking and all that shit. Yeah, just like being the man.
Just to be a character on the show.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So I was...
Were you stressed about that or no?
So stressed. So stressed, man.
And shit, right, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a pretty reserved person. I'm definitely a private person. And it seemed like once I got to America, I was very aware of, 1, being a small fish in a big pond, but 2, just the opportunities that can happen. And you know, everyone talks about living the American dream, or, you know, moving to LA and making it and all that shit, you know? Yeah. And that can happen for a lot of people. Totally. Like there's a way that you have to think about it. I think if you're the kind of guy that is cocky or I don't know, like ready to use people or ready to you know, smug or whatever, like LA will chew you up instantly, but there's also kind of an element where LA loves those people, which totally sucks.
Yeah.
But I think if you're, I don't know, if you're just honest and just kind of like, you know what you want to do, I think that can be a really cool thing for those people too. I also understand how those people can hate LA as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
You felt pressure being on there?
It was
not from them, but in your mind.
It was the craziest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
The pressure was so intense, and just being in a being in a world and like all that shit, on a platform where the whole world knows who you are.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of like shy kid from West Auckland, New Zealand. Like, what? Like, I'm doing this? Like, all right.
Damn.
So
it's probably exciting too, because it's something different as well.
Man, back then I was as terrified as I was for that stuff inside. I would always say yes.
Yeah.
Because to me, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
I would just think to it.
I like that's how you've been from the jump with opportunities.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that.
The way I see it, whatever you believe in, the opportunity is presenting itself to you. That's happening for a reason. It's not being presented to anybody else.
No.
So if you're being offered it, you got to step up and make that decision.
Totally.
And some are obviously right and wrong for you, and there's different things to think about. But for me, I'm like, man, I know I can make this positive. I know I've got a lot of gratitude for the people that helped me. And if anything, I want to give back to those people. I want to be able to wear an Earth Crisis shirt on the show. I want to be able to wear. I want to be able to try and get you on the show. Yeah. You know, I ended up getting Rusty on the show. Yeah. I want to do that stuff. I got Isaac an interview. Yeah. You know, it didn't happen, but that would have been the best episode there was on that show. I'm sure. That. But it's like, I don't know, man. I think thinking back to the hardcore scene and stuff, like you have an obligation to be that person and kind of rep where you're from and know that there's so many other people that understand but don't get that opportunity. Yeah,
I feel the same way. We people were calling us sellouts and bummed about our MCA record. Then we got to do Conan O'Brien, and then I wore like Madball shirt. Rusty wore Scarhead. We wore like local bands. We put tags all over our gear just to help up and prop up our friends from the scene we come from. And John Joseph was in the audience, like a proud dad cheering and shit.
It's amazing.
Just shit like that, like just to like, yeah, man, look out for everybody you can. Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, and that was at a time where if you were watching that and you had no idea about punk or hardcore, you would be like, what is that name on the amp? Yeah. Like, I got to look that up. And then you do. And it was like, it was like, you would just buy the record just because, you know, it's like growing up, we would buy records just on a whim, on a rumor, just because I heard that this guy might like this band from this band. Done. Yeah. Cool. I just thought about it. We had Puny Human on there, which was Josh and Jason Diamond, who did our Family Tree video, our Ever Ready video, all of our videos, and Ian Robinson. That was their band, Puny Human. Oh my God! Shout out to you guys, MBS Productions. So stoked. It was super cool. I remember one of the big things that happened was after moving here, Zachy from Avenged Sevenfold, he wore our T-shirt on what the hell was that show? TRL or something?
Headbangers Ball?
No, TRL or something.
TRL Live, yeah.
We didn't get any of that stuff where I'm from, so we didn't get MTV.
TRL was big back then.
It was huge, and he wore our shirt, and I'm just like, God, man, like
sick.
So cool. Not only like, I mean, just good people. Just you just know someone's legit when they're prepared to do that for you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I remember going on tour with I don't know the fuck we're on tour, the Warped Tour. I don't even know how I even gave it to him, but somehow I gave Tom DeLonge that license plate shirt. Then all of a sudden, it's in the Adam song video.
Everything.
And I'm like, holy shit! And all of a sudden, people are asking that shirt. All of a sudden, it gets in stores and sells a bunch because of just looking out for us. Like that was super awesome, man.
Yeah.
Just forever grateful for that kind of shit.
Of course.
It's so random and so cool at the same time. Like you can wear any shirt you want to wear in the fucking biggest band. You choose that one. It's cool, man. So now you're on LA Inc. You're playing no music, right at this point.
Yeah.
So Dear Departed, you kind of just fizzled out for the show. In
the beginning, I was still touring with Dear Departed. It was actually probably at its busiest time, and the TV show filmed us playing at House of Blues.
That's right, I remember that.
We were on tour with Alkaline Trio, another band that's done a lot for us. Yep. Shout out Matt Skiba.
Skeebs.
But it just kind of fizzled out for me. I got to the point where the tattoo side of things was really busy, and there was some awesome stuff happening, and I'd met Scully, my wife, and I just I'd never been one to think into the future too much, but when I met her, all the lights just kind of turned on. I knew I had to kind of do things a little differently, and I wanted to. I don't know. I just felt like it was the right thing to do to try to create some sort of a future or provide or just, I don't know.
Kind of grow up and be an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
In a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that show, it's interesting about those shows because I feel like those shows had I'm not a tattooist, so I don't know how it's viewed, but I feel like it had a positive effect as far as like helping tattoos become like more of a household thing for more like everyday society type people again. Because before they were like shocking and there were sailors or they were like criminals, they were bikers, but then it became to this mainstream thing where like everybody's getting tattooed, and that only helped all my friends in their tattoo shops and keep them busy. That's how I saw it in a positive way. But as a tattoo, it's a different perspective. But people are no longer looking at us like freaks anymore because your next door neighbor has one or so. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought I did a lot of positive for the community.
Totally, and that's one of the things that I didn't struggle with, but it was very strange because, when you're a young kid, you get tattoos to prove that you don't fit in.
Yeah.
It's like
make yourself a black sheep.
You're against the world, and you like to think that no one understands you.
Yeah.
And then I was the dude on the show that is now talking to the old lady in the supermarket saying that she's seen me on TV and she loves me. And it's
crazy,
like,
man.
Oh, okay.
So how soon after, how soon after you started getting recognized for being?
It was instant.
Damn.
It was instant because that was at a time where Twitter was just
huge.
I mean, it's huge now, but it was kind of new. It was before Instagram, but it was instant, and with the show came some appearances and traveling for tattoo conventions. Or, I mean, dude, Kat's the hardest worker I've ever met. Like, I have nothing but respect for everything that she's done. So for her to learn a lot from her and just be around it and aware of like, man, what can happen? There was so much stuff going on, and it really opened my eyes. I was in a completely different world.
Yeah. It was a totally different chapter of your life too, and totally just like
But I would go and visit my wife's family in Florida and stuff, and we would get our meals comped, and the chef would come out and shake my hand, like, "Thank you so much for dining at my restaurant."
So now,
I'm just like, what are you talking about?
So now the guy in like that plays music for a living, which is really unacceptable, and a guy with a lot of tattoos is now kind of cool in the eyes of your wife's parents.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh shit, this guy's on TV now. He fucking.
Weirdos
can make it too.
I needed whatever I could get too, man. Like, I wasn't gonna let that one slip away. You know,
totally.
Like,
but now it's
Scully's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So it was time to get serious and time to just realized that I wasn't the same kid living in a van trying to figure out what the hell to do.
Yeah. But now it's like you're on television. Now I can, like, oh shit, this guy, man.
Yeah.
He made something with himself.
You knew me before all that stuff,
Of course. So. Your parents were psyched?
Man, you know what? I mean, I think they were. I think that they were like me. They were just kind of trying to keep up.
Yeah.
With everything that was going on, you know. Yeah. There was some real dark times, like I said at the beginning of moving over here, and I'm sure they were worried about that time. I was about myself, but once it all sort of like evened out a little bit, it was very exciting. I would go to New Zealand and there was like billboards of me in New Zealand and stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know,
that's fucking awesome
stuff that you just don't see.
Yeah. So then what happened with the music there? You got too busy to even keep going
with the band?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just the tattoo side of things was just taking over, and I'm like, you know what? As you know, people probably think that you've made tons of money off a band, or you know, it's this luxurious lifestyle or whatever. It's like
outrageous.
You'll never really make money off music. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Unless you have some really great opportunities or I don't know,
a great team around you,
or a time machine, you know. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, man, I got to do what I got to do. So full force into tattooing, and then, you know, my time in LA kind of came to an end, and I was just like, you know what, I could open my own shop. Never thought about it before, but I've always wanted my own clubhouse where I can put whatever music on I want. You know,
how many years did you do the LA thing?
I mean, I was in LA for like 5 years.
That's right.
And I was at the
Detroit
shop.
Street.
Yeah. I was at the whole. I was at High Voltage Tattoo for the whole time.
Okay.
Loved it. It was amazing.
And how many seasons did you do there?
So the second season I did was like a long season. So it was I think I did like 2, but it was kind of 3.
Okay.
And then, but yeah, there for like 5 years.
Damn. I remember all that shit was crazy.
I know.
It was so crazy. You had some cool guests on there. Who'd you have on there? I know you Rusty on there. Who else you tattoo on there?
I had Robin Wilson from the Gin Blossoms, who we ended up doing a song together on our record, which to me, you know,
that's amazing.
Coming from like punk and hardcore, you're just like, what? Gin Blossoms? Like,
yeah, that's cool though.
I don't even want to say guilty pleasure. They're just a band I've always loved. So to become friends with him and a ton of people, man, you know. Simon Pegg. I mean, I was tattooing Johnette Napolitano from Concrete Blonde.
Sick.
I was doing a portrait of her on Cat that they were filming.
That's cool.
And then Johnette showed up to look at the portrait.
How much pressure is that? Like just being filmed with the hot lights on you and everything. It's like camera people watch. It's not just a cameraman, and like it's like all kinds of people from the show.
I shaved years off my life.
Damn. There's the pressure enough to just be tattooing in general, putting something on somebody's body forever.
Yeah.
Let alone cameras and critiques.
Or someone going, can you make that machine a little quieter? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For the filming part, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, at the same time,
what a great experience.
Super grateful.
Yeah, it's a
super grateful, man.
Yeah.
It's
fucking pretty awesome.
I loved when, like I said, I wore an Earth Crisis shirt and like tons of hardcore kids hit me up. Like, dude, we saw you like in an Earth Crisis shirt, you know, and hopefully it kind of had the same effect that, you know, you guys putting all the, you know, the names on the amps and the shirts,
totally,
you know, on that late night show did. Like, I don't know, that's all you can kind of hope for, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spreading the word and shouting at the people who inspired you, got where you're at. I love that. Yeah, for sure. So then, so you come to the end of the road with LA Inc., and now you want to do your own shit. Yeah, I'd kind of decided LA. Was that a scary transition move? It was, man. It was. Well, I remember talking during those times too. Like, just I'm always in like two minds with everything. Like, if I know I have to do something, I'll do it like 100%. But the mental anguish that I put myself through sometimes is something I've been working on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Beat yourself up. I'm sure a lot of people can. Of course. But you're an artist too, so I consider you an artist of all trades. So it's like artists, you know, we're fucked up people. And then you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and you definitely, you're your worst critic. Yeah. You doubt yourself. Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah. Never good enough, or even if you have success, it doesn't matter what type of success it is. You still think of yourself as like not good enough sometimes, or are you doing the right thing, or totally. It's really weird, right? It's really fucking totally strange. I found that what I
didn't care so much about this time around, like 4 years ago, kind of speaking. After putting music on the back burner for a long time, probably like 5 years or something like that, was music again.
Yeah.
And Davey, who's in our band, Davey Warsop,
Sharp Shock.
he was in a band called Beat Union, who moved here, and on paper pretty much had the same experience that we did.
Yeah.
And he stuck it out. He was the engineer at
Expectations and promises and all this different stuff.
all that stuff,
Gotcha.
man. All that stuff. Just kind of, I don't want to say foolishly, but kind of just going along
Naive.
with, a lot of naivety, but just going along with this such an honest, naive dream, and then you're just left to go, oh, okay, this is just completely not how we thought it was going to go.
That sucks, man.
But I mean, obviously people deal with that every day in life.
Totally.
In all different aspects, so I'm not saying that we did anything like, crazy out of the ordinary, but I think the pressure that we were feeling because we're not from here is something that very few people can understand.
Yeah.
But anyway, like he was the engineer at the Hurley studio for the longest time. So
Shout out to Ryan Hurley, man.
yeah, Bob Hurley almost saved our lives, man. He let us live on his house, at his house on Newport Beach for months, rent free. It was like we were living a dream while going through the craziest time of our entire life. So much love to Hurley.
That's awesome.
Davey ended up recording bands like Green Day and sitting in on Foo Fighters stuff, and
Sick.
I just really connected with him, and he kind of had an idea. He was always writing songs, he's a huge Descendants and All fan as well, and he was like, you know what, like I've got these songs, I want you to play on them. Like, let's just keep it super fun. Like, let's just not put any pressure on it whatsoever. And I was like, I'm excited to not care about music. Like care 100%, but not care in the same way of like, I'm going to drive myself mental, or I'm going to, I need to take over the world with this. Like I've learned that something that you can put pure energy into and water in the best possible way, that plant will grow so much more healthy if it's just, if you take the pressure off as much as you can, or just take the expectation out of it, So yeah, the songs ruled that he wrote. I loved hearing them, then recording them, and then Sharp Shock kind of took off, and it's been unreal to do.
What year was that? When did you guys really start?
We've only been a band for 4 years.
Yeah.
So our second show was with Descendants at the Palladium in LA.
Crazy.
Which was a total Skiba hookup. He helped us in the beginning so much, and it was awesome. I'm so grateful for that. Davey had also worked with Bill and Stefan, which in itself is just insane. And then we're opening for them. It's like my favorite band. The first tattoo that I ever got at a kitchen at the bottom of the world, and I'm like, I'm gonna play before the Descendants.
It's crazy, dude. I was at the show. It was awesome.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
It was huge. If I died and had a heart attack that night, after they played, I would have been happy.
and how many years Capture Tattoo open for now?
So we're going to have we've been open 7 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
That was a big move. I'm so proud. You went to Tustin. I never even heard of Tustin before you went there.
Not many people have. Yeah. Yeah. I think you still call it Tuscan.
Tuscan. But you found this place in Tustin. It's a beautiful shop.
Yeah. I wanted to find a place that was, for one, off the grid a little bit. Like I never saw myself as like being on the main street anywhere and dealing with all that stuff. I wanted to jump into my clientele and really kind of give back as much as I could to them. So yeah, Tustin, Old Town Tustin is like a cool little historic old little town in Orange County, and there's like 1 or 2 exits on a freeway. You blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful little old town with cool coffee shops and little restaurants and antique shops.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Old brick buildings and stuff, which the aesthetic is exactly like what I wanted.
Incognito, man. Nobody knows a tattoo shop when you walk past there. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
Fit in a little bit rather than stick out. But
your first tattoo shop, was that is it stressful to do that?
It was, man. It was weird because I knew I had to do it, and I was just like, I don't know if it was like autopilot or what, but I was awake 22 hours of every day because I was still living up here, right?
That's right.
I would go down there and work on the shop, and I would come up here and I'd work at high voltage, and then I'd drive, you know, I'd pack stuff and move and pick up cabinets or chairs from people, and pick up a bunch of armrests that I'm going to use for that shop and move them and all stuff till 3-4 in the morning and do it all over again for a month or two.
I remember that.
That was really crazy. But yeah, I mean, it all worked out. You know, I've had Sean Topper, who's been my number one dude pretty much since the beginning.
Yep.
You know, I couldn't have done it without him. And together we've done, you know, art shows and traveled the world, and we put out 2 amazing books.
Good book?
Yeah, the Good Book 1 and 2, which is kind of like in our opinion, and thankfully a lot of others, like the greatest like reference material that a tattooer can own. It's like very in depth, you know. 25 different chapters of different imagery by over 100 artists. Like awesome. The world's best artists kind of came together for it.
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful that everybody loved that so much, and yeah, man, it's you know, him and Chris Astrologo and now Sean Hall, like they're my dudes.
Yeah. Tyler
runs the shop, and I'm super grateful for him, and all of them inspire me greatly. Yeah. You know, and that's all I kind of wanted, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's the kind of people we're surrounding yourself with, especially we create.
Just totally, man. And you know, we all critique each other's work, and we keep each other positive, and we go surfing together, and you know, we travel the world together.
What about that thing you guys do? You guys traveled around and did some crazy shit, tattooing like in caves and fucking churches and shit.
Yeah, it was always in New Zealand. You know, there was a tattoo convention in New Zealand every year, and we rent camper vans, and we take 2 weeks and just travel every inch of New Zealand.
That's awesome, man.
So yeah, we've tattooed like
and wild
totally wireless, like next to a lake, on top of mountains. You know, we've done glaciers, we've hiked volcanoes, and almost jumped into bubbling mud, and you know what I mean? It's like...
You tattoo ski, we tattoo you somewhere in a church or something? No, is that nuts?
We tattooed each other in an abandoned church in the countryside in England on the last tour that Dear and Departed did with Alkaline Trio.
Holy random, that's amazing.
Yeah, the church, I guess, was built with the doors facing the wrong way or away from Jerusalem or somewhere. I don't know what the story was, but it was deemed demonic, so it wasn't finished, or it might have been torn down.
Wow.
So we went there and did crosses on each other.
It's fucking awesome.
But yeah, so lucky to be constantly inspired by a lot of my friends, man. You know, that's something I'll never take for granted.
Yeah.
You included.
Thank you, brother. And then you made like Shine the Light Down book about tattoos.
Shine the light down.
Shine the light down. Talk about your straight edge book, because I thought that was super amazing. The first book about with all straight edge tattoo artists. That's super. Nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah, that's kind of why I did it. You know, I after the show or during the show, really, like it was such a huge platform that I was like, man, what can I do to let people know exactly what I'm about, or what I consider to be super positive. Yeah. And that was being straight edge. So I gathered over 50, I think maybe 60 straight edge tattoo artists. And I was like, can I do a book with all of their work and this story about
That's cool, man.
How they, you know, like I want to hear their story, you know, and original artwork.
So cool.
Selection of their pictures, you know, of their work.
Yeah.
So I did it, you know, and we had a book release in New York and LA. Yeah. Which were all great, and people still buy it today, and a lot of people have come out of the woodwork and said, like, man, that was a huge positive influence in my life, and I give them away at the shop if I'm talking to someone that I feel like might need it, you know, and I've dropped off a couple hundred to rehabs, and
it's awesome, man.
You know what I mean? People who I just could think.
You do a part 2. I'm sure there's more people. You do a part 2 someday, maybe.
I thought about that recently. Yeah.
Because there's probably a lot more too.
Yeah.
maybe more came out that didn't get to be in there.
And there might be people not in the second that were in the first.
That's what I'm saying. I think it'd be part 2 would be pretty sick. Where can people get that book? Where can people get both those books?
So everything is just on the Captured Tattoo website.
Yeah.
My shop's called Captured Tattoo.
How'd you get that name? What inspired that?
So during the darkness, a record that kind of really had a huge impact on me was a record called Birds by Bic Runga. She's from New Zealand. She's a solo artist who's mind-blowing, and I always loved her. I still love her. And I got the name Captured written on my hand. So, I mean, years before I even thought about opening a shop.
Yeah.
So it was just a word that I loved because just of everything that I kind of went through, I feel like we're all captured by something.
Yeah.
And whether or not you want to make it positive or negative is kind of on you. You know, like we all have the ability to turn stuff around, and we all, but ultimately we gravitate towards the things that are going to capture us.
I love that.
Whether we like it or not, you know what I mean? Like obviously good and bad, but so yeah, I would just look at this word on my hand and then, you know, thinking of a name for your shop. It's like the biggest thing ever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted a name that just sounded cool and kind of wasn't Sick Dogs Inc. or you know what I mean? Like something just not that I would call it that, but you know, just there's a lot of maybe
Badass Inc.
aggressive names in tattooing, or just names that are just like, oh really? Like, okay, so I just thought Captured Tattoo, you're going to go there and hopefully be captured by what we're doing, and you're going to love your tattoo and look at it forever. Ultimately, man, I always wanted people to have a great experience with me because I always had great experiences getting tattooed by people.
Totally.
You know, and it wasn't until I came here that I realized like, man, like all the punk kids and hardcore kids have these crazy stories about being tattooed by people they regret getting tattooed by and stuff, and so I feel lucky for that. So
the shop's super beautiful, man. Super nice.
Thank you.
Good vibes in there. It's a beautiful space, man. Really proud of you. I remember you made that move. It's like such a big deal. Like get your own shop, like going on your own, kind of leave the nest kind of sense. Yeah. I couldn't have had anyone more supportive than Kat, but it was a big deal. It's funny. Like I said, man, the last 6 months, so much time to like think back. Just think back about life, man. It's like, man, how you got to where you are, you know? I mean, you stayed focused and you took every opportunity that you thought that you could do it and believed in yourself and followed your heart in those situations. And that's powerful, man. That's
thanks.
That's a PMA too, believing in yourself for sure, you know, like, you know?
Yeah. I need that stuff too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like my mind hasn't always been my friend. So I, you know, it's those positive affirmations that count, you know, and can really kind of get you through, you know? And
so Sharp Shock, you know, guys just dropped this split with Wisdom in Chains.
Yep. Can't wait for that. That's coming out. That's actually coming out. I mean, it'll be out by the time this is airing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Again, like didn't know those dudes. Met them on the Persistence tour. Yeah. Clicked straight away.
Great dudes.
Breaking each other's balls from the get-go.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Breaking bread and balls, yeah.
And to me, it just felt right, you know, and I don't know whose idea it was. I think Richie's. And just made it happen super quick. We had the songs.
Yeah.
You know, just goes to show, like, even this far along, you can just make stuff happen and just do it.
And a pandemic, all that shit, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
So I did the artwork for it, which I've been doing a whole lot more in the last few years.
Yeah.
Like album art, you know, which is cool. Like I did a few back in the day, but just held off because I always kind of had, like I said, that separation of like, oh, this is Music Dan and this is Tattoo Dan. And like, if you're going to do a record, oh, you need someone who does that to do the artwork. Like, stay in your lane, bro, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do some 7-inches and just see what comes out cool. After all the inspiration that I've had through album art over the years. But yeah, I do all the T-shirts, you know, Tyler, our shop manager, helps me with all that stuff. And
Then we did that split 7-inch, us two together, H2O and Sharp Shock.
Oh man, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was your idea too. Like, we had that Suicidal cover that we put out many years ago on the split with the Ice Cube song on Side One Dummy, and we love that track, love that cover, and then we did like that split. Yeah, it's great. Descendants and Suicidal covers.
Yeah.
Then our Epitaph put it out right on Spotify and all that.
Sure
shit.
did.
Yeah,
Bridge 9 put it out physically, but yeah, Epitaph, which
came through.
You know, it's like it's funny, man, to have all those dudes in those bands sign off on that and be cool with it is so rad. I mean, I met Mike Muir when I was like literally like 13 or 14 when Suicidal toured New Zealand. Met him outside a record store.
Yeah.
And
was he holding the record or something you saw? Like
he was walking out as I was walking out. I had my homemade Suicidal hat on.
Sick.
Because you just couldn't get merch down there really.
But on that first album, everybody had their hand-drawn shirts and their hats. Or I was
totally
shirts and writing.
Totally.
Shit, yeah.
So it's like, that's what I mean. It's like this like inspiration for kids, no matter what age you are or where you're from, just to do it.
Yeah.
You know? I recently got Rick Clayton's book, who he's done a lot of artwork for Suicidal, you know? And same thing, I'm flicking through the book and I see the design that I had a t-shirt that I wouldn't take off for anything when I was like 13. It was the Won't Fall in Love Today, the wall, the brick wall or whatever. And I'm like, man, it's just crazy full circle stuff, you know, that like, honestly, I couldn't get rid of that enthusiasm if I tried.
Yeah.
You know, even I just turned 40 like a few months ago. It's like.
You look good, bud. You're aging well.
Thanks, man. Vegan straight edge.
So the newest thing is that we did the tour this year, Persistence tour. That was fucking so much fun.
The best.
You playing bass. Last year with Battery. Fuck, man. So the future music now.
No more touring in our lifetime, but hey, it was good while it lasted.
Do you have any regrets in life?
Oh man, that's a slippery slope, you know. Like I'm a huge fan of the no regrets, man. You know, like everything that I did got me to where I am right here.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, it's good to say that, but once you start thinking, you're like, could have changed that, shouldn't have done that.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda,
you know. I think, and like I said a little bit before, I've been really pleased to dive into.
Excuse me.
Wow, really?
Sorry.
Come on.
Well, you're my friend, so I farted in the podcast. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just, you know, to me, like I said before, not knowing yourself when you're going through a lot of changes in your life can be tough, you know, and obviously like you need to go through stuff to really figure out who you are a lot of the time. But I think what I've been excited to sort of do and learn and kind of dive into a little bit is dudes who are our age, or girls who are our age, of course, our age or older, who have lived similar kind of lives, talking and reflecting on stuff that they've done, and you know, kind of understanding that there are skills that you can learn. You know what I mean? Like different ways to look at things, different ways to process things. So while I would say I've got no regrets, I've got some regrets. Yeah. I've definitely got some regrets. You know?
Yeah, I'm sure fucking... That's a hard question to answer, to ask people all the time on here. Some people say, no, I'm good. And it's just the stuff I've been through and stuff.
I feel like that's the default. Like, no regrets, man. Like, I'm here and this is what, you know, this is where I'm at. Like,
my journey.
I get that. But, man... If I knew, hindsight's 20/20. If I knew some stuff that I know now back then, it would have saved some premature gray hairs, I'm sure.
No, I got you. And Sharp Shock has such a unique sound. I love Sharp Shock. It's so, I think that's what connected to a lot of people because it's refreshing. It was something new sounding, something that you heard before but hadn't heard recently, and it's a mix of like all these different Elvis Costello vibes. There's a bunch of vibes in there. Like, what is the key influences for Sharp Shock?
Well, like I said, me and Davey kind of grew up on the exact same, you know, healthy diet of bands like Elvis Costello or The Jam or
The Jam.
England has such a huge history of amazing music, and it's just what you listen to when you're a kid. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, those bands for sure are huge influences. But like I said, Descendants, all...
Yeah, you can hear all that in there, man.
I mean...
No pun intended. Well, you can hear it all in there for sure. All that stuff. All it's a it's a good mix.
I love how I feel playing with the band. You know, it to me it's just right. You know,
you can see that though, and see the energy and feel like you guys really connect with each other. It's a good crew. You know?
Yeah. I love that people a little older kind of back it too, because it's
it's got a nostalgic vibe to it, even though it's something new and fresh. And it's got that that throwback kind of vibe.
We just tried to strip everything back and just make it about the song. You know, and I think with all the noise that's going on in the world, and especially music, I mean, you've lived all through the changes of like what's popular at the moment, what's not, and then you kind of like put your toes in the sort of mainstream pool, and then it's like, it's like, you know what? No, we need to like be true to kind of more what we are or whatever, and it's good to just feel good about what you're doing and strip it back and go, it has to be about the song, and it has to connect.
Totally.
So yeah.
100%. Do you have any daily rituals?
Daily rituals.
I know you're a coffee head.
I'm a coffee head, not as much as some, but I love coffee. I definitely have a very strict sort of schedule with working out, riding my bike.
That's right.
I would love to breathe more. Like I've been lucky to kind of do a couple of like pretty amazing classes with my good friend Lucas.
I've seen this.
Lucas comes from the same place I do, and to do what he's done, I have the utmost respect for him and Hella. They have a thing called the O2 Awakening, and it's all about breath work.
Gotcha.
And if anyone doesn't know about it, please look into it. The O2 Awakening. It's like, it really is an awakening. It's like, I was carrying a lot of weight for the longest time, and with the help of them, they helped me just kind of get rid of it and just not start fresh, but just really kind of tap into what you're supposed to be doing. It's just a clarity that I couldn't get anywhere else.
I'm gonna try that shit. I've seen you do that and talk about it.
It's awesome. They have a 5-minute practice that I try to do as often as I can. I'm not perfect at it. I don't do it every day, which I should, but man, they've helped so many people. And I'm not preachy guy in any way about anything. Like but to me personally, it really helped me. So yeah, I mean, eating good.
Yoga.
I'm hypermobile.
Okay.
Which means I'm very flexible and very bendy.
Okay.
So yoga, the last time I did yoga, I love stretching, but yoga, I've had issues with my knees.
Got you.
So I had a real bad problem with my knees. So I stay away from certain yoga exercises, but I have a huge respect for yoga.
Okay.
And it's good for a lot of people, but, you know, I'm naturally kind of bendy.
Limber.
So
stretchy.
But yeah, I try to go in the ocean as much as possible. You know, that to me, like growing up in New Zealand, will always be a strong connection to New Zealand, you know. And
you surfed a lot growing up, right?
Surfing. Yeah.
And skateboarding too, though.
Always.
Were you a street skater?
Yep. And ramp. I mean, the first skating I did was ramp, because New Zealand didn't really have any. I mean, the streets are kind of all beat up, and you know what I mean. New Zealand's amazing for actually the government really puts a lot of funding into skate parks over there, and kind of has for 10, 20 years. I mean, I've been gone for the longest time.
What was your favorite trick?
I mean, I was never that good, honestly. To me, dropping in on a 12-foot like vert ramp was probably my crowning achievement. But I mean, me and all my friends, we would love to just bomb hills and just be skate punks. You know what I mean? It wasn't so much about tricks; it was just about hitting the city in Auckland. We would skate down the main street through traffic and stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite skater or board back then?
I mean, probably, being honest, Jamie Thomas or Ed Templeton.
Nice.
I would say Ed Templeton's probably my favorite skater. You know, that era was huge for me. But cool. I mean, obviously, you know, Hosoi and Caballero, and being able to meet and tattoo those guys, man. You know, and Coach Caballero doing a tattoo on you in my shop.
And Hosoi too. Yeah, I tattooed
you know, like
that was so fun, man.
Such special times, man. So, but you know, to me, the artwork behind skating was just
incredible, man.
The most powerful thing ever. Jim Phillips is and always will be a hero.
Yeah.
You know.
All that shit, the bone shit, all the art, the craziest shit. Tom Guerrero.
Yeah.
Mark Gonzalez, Lance Mountain.
Yeah. I remember
Jeff Phillips.
One of my first, like, there's been a lot of like realizations after moving to America of like, wait, am I in this place where this was filmed? Or like, like Kurt Cobain's house is down the street from where I'm at. I'm at this coffee shop. Damn. And like, well, we randomly, in this city or whatever, like, was on Gleaming the Cube when they exit the freeway, I think towards the end, just about towards the end where they pick up Tony Hawk from the Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
It says Catella exit on the freeway.
I've seen that before. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay.
So visiting Orange County and seeing Catella, I'm like, Catella? Where do I know Catella from?
Wow,
it's
I
like
didn't do that.
It's a street in Orange County. You know what I mean? I'm like, God damn it, Catella! I'm here.
You're right. I
Take a photo, send it to my skater friends back home. You know what I mean? Stupid.
Just random shit like that. It pops up from your life. Where did I know that from? And then you're fucking there. That's amazing, man. Yeah, I do remember Catella. I remember that. You can see. I know the answer to this question because I know you for many, many years. You're an optimist. You're not a pessimist. So you feel like you're in between. You're a realist. My wife calls herself a realist.
Oh man, I don't want to give in to the world. You know what I mean? Like I want to keep that part of me that's optimistic.
Yeah.
You know, like the world sucks and there's so many things to be negative about. You know, it's so easy to just go down that road.
Totally.
And I just feel like being positive is my thing, and no one can kind of take it away from me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to try.
Mm-hmm.
So being optimistic, I feel like I've gone through enough in life that there's no reason to not be optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
There's
no reason to not be like that. You know, like as soon as you're negative or as soon as you think that something isn't going to happen, then someone has something on you. You know, whether it's a person or it's in the stars. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like you as much as everything's meant to be, you can kind of control your destiny a bit as well. So
totally.
Yeah, I'll always be
optimist.
Optimist, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like a top 5 like inspirations? I know you mentioned like a tattoo artist earlier. Like, do you have top 5 inspirations maybe in tattooing or music? Or I know Descendants is in the mix for sure.
Descendants just, yeah. I mean, it's bands like that just connect with you on a level where you literally think that you're the only person that they're touching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like, you know, hearing and saying some of the lyrics for Descendant songs connected with me on such a level that some other bands didn't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And inspiration and influence is obviously everywhere. But yeah, I mean, there's people who have pushed it and made it so that I basically go through life going, you always should try, you always can try, you can always try harder.
Yeah.
You have this to live up to. You know what I mean? Like, totally. I know we were talking about Grime, who's one of my heroes in tattooing. You know, like he stayed at my house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy, but it's like he pushed art and tattooing to a point that I know I'll never reach. You know what I mean? I'm completely realistic in that sense. But for him to change the world like he has, I love that. I love that he did that, and all I can do is admire that and try to give back as much as possible and try to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. If he's proud for any one thing that I've done, that's rad. You know,
totally.
So I take those things with me through life. You know.
So those are the main inspirations. Those two probably.
I mean, there's tons of inspiration.
Robert Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a powerhouse in his, and you know what I mean? Like, look what he did. He changed the world.
But what's a band that you love so much? Is it probably Descendants?
Yeah, I mean, sure. But The Cure, I mean, definitely my favorite band.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we were at the same show when we saw them at the Troubadour to like 200 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like truly life-changing. I remember getting a tape from my dad, or when I was just a child, you know?
It's crazy, man.
And it's
like
pops. And it's like, there he is. I'm 6 feet away. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I feel like I'm rambling on about like gushing about like never losing that drive or nostalgia or whatever it is. But man, it's like don't let life get you, man, because it'll fucking get you. You know?
Yeah. I'm gonna give a shout to Scully right now, because how long you guys been married for now? 11
years.
So yeah, it's definitely to balance all that, tattooing, being married, being a husband, being a musician, traveling. It's hard. It's hard to balance for a lot of people, man.
It's hard for me.
11 years is amazing. Like I'm almost 25, but all that balances. My wife told me recently that because of the COVID, we see each other so much. We're on top of each other, literally in this house. And she's like, the reason why we're married so long is because you are in a band. You do leave and you come back. That sense of missing each other in that space.
Totally.
So it's like, this is a challenge for relationships to go through. You guys been through a lot because you traveled, did the show everywhere, you know? Yeah.
There's not 1 second that I don't completely value her in our relationship, you know, and it is crazy to think of what I do and what my usual sort of like schedule is and stuff like that. You know, she's got 100% the most supportive person that I've ever met. You know, I'm truly grateful. Beautiful soul, beautiful person inside and out. And it's like you meet people like that and you realize that there's more to it. You know what I mean? There's more to life. There's more to you, you know, like whatever you've been thinking up until now, like, dude, like forget that. Like now is different, you know, like you got to really, you know.
You guys met on tour back in the day kind of, or no?
Yeah. Met on tour.
Which band?
With what band? Dear Departed. Yeah. Met her in Florida. Wow. And then I don't know how it's worked, man. It's on paper it shouldn't have, but she's the best, and I know that. You know, I truly know that. And
we're very lucky, man. We're supporting women in our lives. Yeah, because we're like big kids in a sense. We like the stuff we do is not in society like a real job. So like a tattoo shop or a musician, and we're like, I don't know, I feel like we're big kids because we get to do what we love, and I think that we're definitely not as mature as our women are, and they give us space and they support us so much to be creative and do. Kind of follow our dreams in a sense. It's pretty awesome.
Have you ever thought about not doing music? Like there must have been times where it was
we had a hiatus from the Go record to Nothing to Prove, which was 7 years. We played some shows, but we weren't making any music, and that's when I like fucking worked for Golden Voice, you know, doing the gear and all that stuff,
doing all the stuff that people would kind of do for you.
Exactly.
And it's weird, right?
That was a different reality, and I actually enjoyed it, and I did that, and then I started working for those other app companies, like I did Trig, and I did something else after that. But yeah, so there was that time where we were so burnt on touring, from the first record all the way to Go. We were so burnt, and then we had this 7-year hiatus, and I did Hazen Street in there too, towards the end of that actually. But yeah, so we like, you know, you really missed it, but for a second, like I'm burnt, I'm done with this, you know what I mean? What's my next move? And then it always brings you back. It always sucks you back. And let's make a new record. And then we did Nothing to Prove, and then toured on that for like fucking 10 years. But yeah, you get a little burnt on it at times, for sure. You definitely never wanted to quit. You got burnt. Like we went pretty hard, touring 6, 8, 9, 10 weeks in vans and traveling, flying. Moon was selling merch, and I didn't have a kid, and I wasn't married, and we had really no responsibilities. You know, like just being on the road, married to the road type of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely get burnt, and I think us taking that 7-year hiatus is the reason why we're still together 25 years later, because we took that space and that time out of respect for each other. We don't want to hate it. We love each other. We don't want to hate each other. It's not worth it, you know, and you get burnt out on each other. So yeah, man, very lucky to still be playing music and 25 years later. It's fucking wild, man.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I think, you know, you guys obviously are from the glory days too, right? So it's like now it's even cooler that you're playing together, and you have such a long, awesome legacy and history, you know. Yeah. And now you get to do this, and you get to like invite all your old friends and some new friends and talk about it all. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So it's really been therapeutic. It's really been awesome having this podcast to talk to people, even people like you that we did the interview before, but stuff you think you know somebody, then you hear more shit and you learn more about somebody you know for a long time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I said last week having EK on from Warzone and Sickville, I never knew until I had him on the podcast, I didn't really know his full name. I only knew him as EK. I have all these friends I've only known as like nicknames their whole life. Yeah. And then we have to do a podcast, try to be professional. You look him up, like, oh shit, that's his real name. It's this shit like that is learning more about people that you thought you really knew everything about, you know? But I knew your journey too, because we've been friends for a long time. What year did I meet you?
So I moved here in 2004, and I want to say it was then. It was straight away.
Yeah. Like I never met you before that, huh?
man, I think
I didn't come
so.
here. I never came to New Zealand though. So like,
Yeah, I think it. I
Or
don't know. I
Australia
want to say
maybe.
it happened though, but I don't know where.
unless I came with Sick of It All back in the day, I don't know, man. Sick of It All toe to toe tour in like the '90s and shit. I don't know.
Nah, I wasn't in Australia at that point, but yeah, I remember seeing Max because he was a baby,
Yeah, he was born in 2003.
and now I'm gonna do his first tattoo in a few months.
Fuck, January turns 18. This motherfucker told me and Dan today like he wants to go surfing in Huntington Beach with the bros and Dan in the morning, and then he wants to get his first tat on his birthday. So that's gonna be really interesting. It's gonna be awesome. What can I say about it? I can't say shit.
You can't say shit.
I got tattooed at 18. My fucking
Exactly.
And
I just hope he sticks with his original idea that he's had since he was probably like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, that's a great one.
When
too.
I would be in this very kitchen tattooing, Isaac, a bunch of, I mean, anyone who was around, and he used to come in at 2:30, 3 in the morning, great parenting,
Fuck off.
and ask me for a dead bird on his face.
That's right. So for many years after that, it was always a conversation with Dan. I want a dead bird. I want a dead bird. Max, come here. I want a dead bird. I want a dead bird. That was all of his fucking. I don't know where that came from. Maybe he saw like the Atticus logo. Ooh.
Yeah, maybe,
Max,
right?
Come here, Max. So Dan's just talking about how you were a little kid. What made you want to like get a dead bird in your face? Where'd the idea come from?
I think I was with. Who was I with? I was with someone and I saw a dead bird. Hold on. I can't hear myself.
Like a real dead bird?
No, a fake one. Yeah, I saw a real dead bird.
Well, you didn't see like a picture of it? Because
No. It was like in like I was probably taking a walk. I think it was with my nan or something. I was. Taking,
The first dead bird you ever saw?
No, I saw many of them back in my day.
Okay.
No, no. I saw a dead bird when I was probably on a walk with my nana or something like that, and it was like a black bird. I don't even know who it was, what it was, who I was with, when it was, but I know for a fact I saw a dead bird somewhere. It was like the first dead bird I ever saw. And I was like, I probably was sad, but I was probably also like, whoa, cool. And then I was like, I want that on my face as a I don't even know. I don't even remember.
You know how little you were, right? You were like
10 years ago. Younger than 7?
Yeah, you were like 5, 6 years old.
Yeah, it probably scarred me.
You were like tweaking on sugar, and like
I didn't know
3
how
in
to
the morning.
react.
You know what's crazy is that's all that kids your age now are getting tattooed is dead birds on their face.
Yeah.
So you got to go against the grain, man.
Everyone's getting dead birds.
Everyone's
on
getting
their
face tattoos.
What you want? Talk to me. Turn 18 in a couple months.
Couple months I turned 18.
What's it gonna be?
Probably surfboard or has to be my dad's name. You know, got to make him feel good, or my mom's. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know. I want to get Moon and Toby underneath my eyes.
Chill.
Left eye. What? 18.
You want a surfboard though, right?
Sure. I'm most likely to be surfing by then, but I don't know. I don't know what else I want.
4 months from now, you're not surfing.
Of course I'll be surfing, but I don't know what I want. I mean, I'll never regret it. It's
Dan's
not like
one for it, right?
yeah.
You should get the whole Point Break movie poster as a back piece.
Yeah, perfect.
You know?
Or like what was the original movie? North Shore.
Oh, Endless Summer.
Best movie in the world. Loved it. No, I'm just kidding. It was great. No, but I do want a tattoo when I'm 18. So a couple months from now, I'm gonna go.
I'll
surf
squeeze you
Newport.
in, mate. I'll squeeze you in.
Okay.
I'll give this microphone.
Okay.
Dan, it's funny because a couple of months ago, Max was like, I want to get hand poked. All my friends are hand poking, getting tattoos in the classrooms. And I'm like, dude, you're not. It said, look at your dad. Look at all my friends. I'm a tattoo artist. You can pick anybody you want to pick to get tattooed. Like, why are you gonna get a hand
That's
poke
how it
tattoo
goes,
in
man.
the back, in the back
Try
of,
it.
and the stick and poke in the back of a classroom?
Try your hardest to not be like your mum and dad, right?
Exactly. So, on that note, Max is gonna get his first tattoo from Dan in January. He turns 18.
Cool.
It's gonna be all downhill from there. We covered a lot of your life, man. I think we covered a lot of good things about it. I mean, that tour with you was incredible. Shout out to everybody who's on the Persistence tour, dude. It was such an amazing tour, man.
Unreal.
It was really sad leaving that tour, and then when the pandemic hit, realizing that might be the only tour we did this year. You know, and that was an ongoing theme on the tour. Like, I don't care if this is the last tour I do. This is the best tour I've ever done. Who cares if it's my last tour? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, Dan, thank you for everything. I mean, you've tattooed so much of my body. You've seen so many parts of my body that just you and my wife saw. And yeah, dude, fucking X'd my whole body. Just everything I have is such beautiful work from you, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I do remember you tattooing me at the house. Me, you, and Isaac and Moon doing tattoos in the office. It was fucking crazy, man.
Isaac tattooed me as well.
That's right. TCOB.
Yeah.
I got one of those too.
Looks good. He always asks me how it's looking.
Were you here too and Skiba tattoo me in the living room on the bar?
I think I was here that day, but I think I left. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this tattoo in the house was super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to tell you I'm proud of you and all the stuff you accomplished and where you came from and your hustle and all of them. It's very inspiring. Even though I'm 10 years older than you, you're like obviously like my brother. And just everything you've been through and all the choices you made and everything you did it on your own terms and you're your own boss. And I'm psyched to where you are. You're 40 years old now. You look fucking great, man.
Shit, man.
You feel 40?
Oh yeah, I feel like 48.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to knock that down a little bit. I'm trying to feel 40 by the end of the year. I don't know. COVID's not helping that though. Shit.
Is there anything you learned on this lockdown that you never did before, like a new hobby or something that you did? Something new that you never really did or no?
Don't lose your mind trying to work every minute of every day because it's not worth it.
So you learned to slow down on this.
Totally.
You've always been hard doing 10 different things.
Yeah.
So you learn to go slow down.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Take it back a little bit.
Yeah. Like spend a lot more time on yourself, you know.
Yourself, your health.
I'm big into riding bikes. And man, I was riding bikes like 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah, you were.
It was awesome. Mentally too, you know, it's like you got to take care of your mind.
And a happy wife, happy life, all that.
All that.
So that's good. You took everything back because you was going super hard, man. You're really going hard, man.
Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know, because that's your grind, that's your hustle. Look where you
are
now.
I know. I'm not complaining either. Like I'm stoked on it all, but yeah, like I said, it's more about as you get older, being excited to kind of like figure yourself out a little more.
Yeah.
And you know, you're the OG role model, man. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me on today.
And you love the Go record, right?
Love the Go record, man. Forest King, best song ever.
You always say, I'm not sure if it's a joke or you're serious, but lyrically, man, singing about some shit nobody's singing about, really.
It's a joke. A role model, killer.
Yeah.
Memory Lane, I mean, yeah.
Role model, too, Memory Lane, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, dude, Forest King, though, the lyrics, though, people
sounds like you're saying foreskin.
I don't know, man.
What was it? Was it foreskin or Forest King?
Forest King.
I am the foreskin.
But you fuck with the Go
Shout
record.
out Adam Blake.
You fuck with the Go record.
Yeah, I fuck with it, man.
Okay.
I celebrate your entire catalog. You know?
Thank you, man. Well, what can we expect from Sharp Shark soon? Just that EP, right?
So one thing I'm really excited about, the Wisdom and Chain 7-inch.
Yeah.
We have another record, EP coming out called Casual As, which is a more kind of like oi street punk, you know, direction.
Wow.
We wrote a whole bunch of like really funny,
awesome,
kind of oi and street punk sort of inspired songs.
Dope.
Lyrics are amazing.
Okay.
You know, Davey's talking about pissing in petrol tanks, and I mean, dude, it's great.
Sick.
But something that I'm really stoked on is we have a 7-inch in the works with Body Jar from Australia, which
Dope.
have literally been one of my favorite bands since I was 14 or 15.
That's awesome.
When I first heard them.
You're from Australia, New Zealand.
From Australia. They were on the In-Flight Rev compilation.
Gotcha.
And so for me, you know, having someone who was so close to home that was like touring the States, doing Warped Tour, recording with Stefan and Bill,
awesome.
Was just like, these are our guys. Like, this is like the hometown kind of, even though it was New Zealand and Australia, it was still like that part of the world has a lot of similarities. So, yeah, man, doing a split 7-inch with them.
Cool, man. It's awesome.
So they've gotten better and better with age, I think, honestly, and I love everything that they've put out. So
what's that coming out on?
Not sure yet. Not sure.
Okay.
You know, like I'm loving kind of just the DIY approach.
Yeah.
You know, it was like you kind of get into this zone of like, oh, well, we need to strive for the best thing around, and then you just get disappointed, and it's like, I don't know, man.
You've been there and done that through the industry.
I've been and done it so many times, and I'm not interested in repeating itself.
Yeah.
In history repeating itself again. So I think DIY is always, you know, the way to go.
You're always been, that's where you started.
It's DIY with everything at the shop. So why shouldn't it be with the band?
That's where your journey started too.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Fucking sick. All right, Dan Smith. Thank you for having.
Love you, bro. Thank you.
Thanks for being on. You can follow Capture Tattoo, Dan Smithism, correct?
Correct.
On the Instagrizzle. What's your website? Is it capturetattoo.com?
Correct.
Is there a Sharp Shock website?
Just at Sharp Shock.
Yeah, you can buy all the merch. You have really great merch. Yeah, you design your merch. It's pretty cool, yeah. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. I might put a little cut of some music on the end of this from Sharp Shack for a 15-second clip. We'll see what happens. Peace. Hey, guys, thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.